folks, and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got the wolves howling out back in your hear them with my co-host David Null for this spooky night before Halloween. Welcome, David. Welcome.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. And as always, we welcome you with the honor of the great creator. And we always thank you for coming. And this is Saturday night, and I don't know what to do because it's not Tuesday.
Yep, yeah, I know the feeling. Oh, happy Halloween, everyone. Hello, Lucky Stone. Happy Halloween to you too. There you go. We are good to go. And if you haven't seen, Nina the Mystic has got some new stuff on her, the Streamlab stuff. And I'm going to pull that up so you can see she has holiday gear and free sticker packs. So if you want, go over there and check that out because, hey, everybody can use a shirt for, a sweater day or something, or whatever they have. So go over there, check this out. Look at that. Free sticker packs. We got shirts, mugs, say happy holidays on there. I hope you guys can all see that big happy holiday mugs. We have the Robert V and David Null mugs. And I know somebody who got a mug. Yep, look at that. Got your own mug. Nice. And of course, not only that, but we got our Wayne Steiger mugs. So if you don't like one, you can always get the other, get the whole collection. And you got the Milky Way Soul Tribe mugs. Be the frequency you want to receive. And who doesn't want to drink out of one of those mugs and get your frequency on, Anyway, so with that, remember, everybody, go over there. Just support Nina. Support me by buying a mug. Support me and David for and our Wayne Steiger. It's good stuff over there. And you can see, keep clicking it. It's gonna go back, but it's not. A little slow tonight. Anyway, you got stickers that say happy holidays, sweatshirts, mugs, all kinds of good stuff. I got to get the spiel out of the way here. You can go and get yourself a dream journal, all kinds of things. You get an Anna Karana tumblers, other mugs, stickers, sweatshirts, t-shirts, hoodies, you name it. She's got it there. But thank you all. And I hope that if you find something in there you enjoy, pick it up. Who can't use a mug with some hot chocolate in it, right? Yes. Of course, I got my Milky Way Soul Tribe shirt on. Yes, good coffee. Who doesn't like good coffee? Tonight we're going to be talking about things. How you doing over there? It's surprising you are on for Saturday night, isn't it?
Yeah, it's different. 3 hours ago, I was like, what am I? This is Saturday, ain't it? Wait a minute, I'm supposed to go on with Robert tonight. I was like, whoa.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm trying to think,
but, hey.
The many years that I've been around, I was like, there's one particular ghost story that, that jumps right in my head that happened to me. So, but you go ahead and start, and when we get to it, I'll relate the story.
All right. And with that, everybody, I want you all to send out some good healing intentions for Nina, who's lost her voice. She's kind of really hurting in the voice area. So send out some good intentions to that. I got to adjust my tie here. Put that thing in the middle. There you go. Got to have a straight tie. Who doesn't like to have a good tie with a good top hat, eh?
There you go.
Anyway, tonight we got a spooky show for you. So across the with the upcoming Halloween night, across the world, candles flicker in the windows, and the smell of smoke and candy fills the air, and the wind feels charged, like it's carrying a message from someplace older than its time itself. Tonight isn't just another date on the calendar. It's a doorway. The veil between worlds grows thin, and for few brief hours, everything walks together. the living, the dead, and things that exist somewhere in between. And Halloween began long before masks and candy. It was once called Shaman, the night to honor the ancestors, to light the fires for the ones who came before us, and to face what fear our fears with open eyes. Yeah, and that's exactly what we're going to do tonight. Because this evening, tribe, we're stepping into the dark, not to be afraid of it, but to listen to it. We'll speak of cryptids and creatures whispered about in campfires and corners of the world, like the Chupacabra, that blood drinking phantom of the desert night, the eerie Fresno Nightcrawler, a walking spirit caught on camera gliding through the dark, the Kalanoro of Madagascar, small and human like, with backward feet that lead you astray, and the savage Amomongo of the Philippines, tearing through jungle silence, and the Momo, the monster, Missouri's own mystery that vanished as quickly as it appeared. Each legend carries the same heartbeat, a reminder that the unknown is still alive. But we'll also wander into places where the veil is thick with history, haunted prisons where screams never really stop echoing, mirrors that have also seen too much and learned to look back at you, and even a museum where the dead are celebrated, the stories walking right alongside ours. And somewhere among all that, the ghosts, not just the kind that jump out and scream boo, but the kind that whisper, the kind that show up in the corner of your eye when the world still going dark. Because maybe ghosts aren't just the dead, maybe they're the memory itself refusing to die. Halloween is about facing what's hidden and realizing that it's part of all of us all along. And it's about understanding the monsters and the myths and the spirits aren't there just to scare us. They're there to remind us that reality is far stranger and far more beautiful than we've been taught to believe. So tonight, light that candle, pour your drink, and open your mind, because before the night is over, we're crossing that thin line between the story and the truth. Join me and David Null tonight for our Halloween special where shadows remember and the night itself will come alive. Yay. What do you think of that?
And
ready to get going on our mystery night?
And ghosts don't necessarily mean evil either. Okay.
That's right. That's right. You know, each one of these things is we believe and then we somehow make it happen too, you know. I think. Don't you? What's your take on a lot of this?
Oh, I think that there are some things that you know, the imagination can dream up stuff. But then there are times when the imagination, for me, it's like I would have never imagined that. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh, well, there's a monster.
Yeah.
Okay. But then there are times when you go, well, wait a minute. What's that? Oh, I would have never imagined that. So, yeah, either you got a bad imagination or something is so weird that it defies your imagination. So that's where that's what I'm trying to bring up, that there are people who have seen things that defy imagination. And that, in a way, is scary.
Yes. Well, yeah, exactly. When you're not thinking of it and then it happens and you go, where'd that come from? I wasn't even thinking of those kind of things, and how did that just appear? And then that makes you wonder if it was really real.
Right. And was it the
Right?
imagination that dreamed it up? because our imagination
Absolutely.
is
Absolutely. Have
very strong.
you, your, yes, exactly. Our imagination is super strong. Um, and our mind believes more as we add into it. If we want to or not, it just feeds it um, you know, um, a like a machine, because that's what we do. So, okay, we're gonna go and talk about. Have you had any experiences with these crazy things?
Crazy
Have you
thing?
been? Have you seen anything weird and yeah, unexpected ghosts or any of that stuff?
Yes. Um, and
And elaborate.
it happened about, well, it happened about 45 years ago. And I was living in a house that was built by three brothers. And it was a beautiful old um, log cabin. There were two rooms in the main house, and um, they were 10 by 20 type rooms, big rooms. And underneath the house were huge logs that were holding up everything. And so you say, well, Dave, well, what's that got to do with your story? Well, it has to do with those three brothers. And the oldest, the last brother to have passed away had they had the services there in the living room of the house, which was common back in those days, especially way out in the country. So I've
Yeah.
rented this house for going on 4 years, and there was a short stint of when I was in jail for a year down in Tampa, and that I came back, and the gentleman who was renting the house said, you know, I've rented this house 3 times since you was gone. And he said, I can't keep a tenant in the house. And I said, well, what's that? And he goes, you lived here for 3 years before you went to Tampa and got in trouble. And he said, they all three families claim that there are ghosts in the house. And I said, yeah, so what? And he looked at me and he goes, what do you mean, so what? And I said, I sit on the front porch and watch this other rocking chair rock right along with me every time I go out there and go sit to rock. And I always looked over and said, I don't know who you are, but ain't it a pretty sunset? And the chair would just rock right along with me, no wind, no nothing. There was a door in the house that it would not remain locked. And that was an old house, and there was a front room on it with just big enough for a bed and a chair and a little nightstand. And I mean, that was it. You had, when you opened up the door from the house, that door would stay locked, but the door leading out to the porch was always unlocked. And because back in the day, if somebody was having trouble getting home late at night, they could park in the front yard and crawl up and go to that room and spend the night and not have to worry about it. So people in the old days, especially way out in the country where this house was, you know, that door stayed unlocked. So my first wife, she was like, no, that got to lock that door. And I was like, you don't understand. You can't lock that door because it's the outside door to the porch. So she would get on to
Mhm.
me all the time, you know, you must have unlocked it. No, I didn't. So later on, it was in November, 3 days before Thanksgiving. So we're getting into that time of year. when my second wife at the time, um, and laying in bed and everything's fine, and we went to bed about 11:30, and snoring away, and all of a sudden something woke me up, shaking my foot, shaking my feet. The end of the bed was out into the room, right? And so I woke up, shook my head, sat up in the bed, and there was a gentleman that had overalls on, like the train masters used to wear, with the with the stripes. He had in the bib overalls. He had um, a, a red handkerchief. He had a scarf around his neck, and there were, had flannel shirt on. And he said, "David, get up. The house is on fire." And what? The house is on fire. Get up. So I turned and to shake my wife and turned around, and he was gone. I got up and went into the next room, and the entire ceiling was on fire. I mean, we barely got out with just us. So later on that evening, because it happened at, about 12 o'clock, the volunteer fire department came out. They couldn't do nothing for the house. All they could do was keep other things from burning. And so I went down and to stay with my buddy Phil. And I was like, man, that guy was standing at the bottom of the bed. He shook my feet. He woke me up to tell me the house was on fire. I don't know who this guy is. So I'm describing it to my friend, and he's like, he just turns ghostly white. And he gets out a family album, and he's going through and he's flipping the pages and he's flipping the pages. And I go, that's the guy right there. Who is that? He said, that's my dead great grandfather.
Mm.
So,
Interesting.
Mr. Croft, who was raised, him and his two brothers, because it was the three brothers, they cut the trees down themselves and logged it and built that house. And then when he passed away in that house, his spirit remained in that house. That's all I can say, because countless nights, evenings, I would sit on the front porch and watch that rocking chair go back and forth, and going, I know there's somebody in there. I can't see him, but hi, how you doing? I always talk to him, which was, that and in and of itself shows you how weird I am to talk to an empty rocking chair, rocking back and forth. But the fact that Mr.
Mhm.
Croft saved our lives. Honest to God, I can never forget it. Looking at sitting up and looking down there at the bottom of the bed and him standing there. And as I described him, there was that picture in the family album of Mr. Croft. So, do ghosts exist? Yeah, they do. In my humble opinion, because I'm still alive and so are the other two people that were in the house with me. So, there. Think about that for a minute. That's why I say
Very interesting.
all ghosts are malevolent. This guy sat on the front porch and rocked in the chair. He liked the company. He liked watching the sunset, which was beautiful from the front porch. So, but people say, well, all ghosts are mean and all ghosts and poltergeists, and they move things around. Well, they might move things around because that's where they used to have them in the past. And one other
Yeah.
note, he traveled around doing puppets for many years, and went to Eufaula, Alabama, and stayed in this bed and breakfast. Very nice people, old Victorian home. They got a bunch of them there in Eufaula. And so the first thing I ask is, this is an old house. Do you have any ghosts? And she goes, oh, yes, we have two or three of them here in the house. And I was like, really? She goes, now watch. I'm going to move these candlesticks on this mantle here on the fireplace. and then we're going to walk into the kitchen. And she said, when we come back in, those candlesticks will be moved back to where they were. And I was like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
really? Oh, that's cool. So into the kitchen we go, and she's telling us all these stories. And we walk back into the living room to go out to get our luggage. And sure enough, those candlesticks were moved. And there wasn't nobody in the house but us three. So do ghosts
Hmm.
exist? Yeah. She goes, the ghost who don't know who it is. She goes, I try to talk to it, but I haven't gotten any messages. She said, but she took care of the house and everything had to have its place. And so anytime I move those candlesticks, they always get moved back. So I got to
Interesting.
witness the after effects of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. That is pretty interesting. Interesting as can be. Yeah. No, I agree with you. Things like that happen, and the spirits stick around, and people always say, oh, well, then why aren't they talking to us? Why are they there? If they were real, then why aren't they communicating, and how come they don't communicate, and blah blah blah. Well, I think a lot of us just don't want to listen.
No, here's in thinking about how much energy Mr. Croft had to generate in order for him to be seen and in order for him to touch me. So, communication with ghosts and spirits has a lot to do with how much energy they have available to them. And I think that Mr. Croft, because him and his brothers built the house, because he lived in the house for so long and he died in the house, I think those things gave him the impetus to get us out of the house. But the amount of energy in order to just speak to us must be enormous from that other side, because in order to speak, it takes energy for us to speak. Nina can't talk right now because she's got a laryngitis. So it takes a lot to be able to speak, and to speak from the spirit world. And then are our ears tuned to those frequencies they're trying to talk? So they could be standing there going, listen to me, I'm screaming at you. And we go look around going, can't hear nothing.
That's right.
So anyway,
Yeah. Lucky. I know Lucky's listening. Lucky, if you got any input on that, I'd like to hear your input on that. He knows how to talk to the spirits. So anyway, yeah, I think that's a good point. I think that's a good point. Um, anyhow, that's pretty cool. I really haven't had a lot of interaction with spirits yet. With like ghosts or nothing. So really don't have a lot to talk about by that. But I'm still waiting my chance. Will it happen or not? I don't know. But cool.
and
That's
and you may have already had some kind of interaction with the spirit and you didn't know it, but there's that too.
oh, probably. Probably more than likely, throughout my years. Now when I want to listen and want to hear, then they're nowhere to be found. You know how that goes.
There's nobody around.
That's right. Well, tonight let's talk a little bit about. We're gonna go with the Fresno Nightcrawler. Have you ever heard of the Fresno Nightcrawler?
No, that's a new one.
That is.
Tell
Well, the
me.
Nightcrawler was documented on CCTV footage in 2007 by a man in South Fresno. When he shared footage with Television Network, of course. Want to be 15 minutes of fame. The video shows a white figure like a pair of legs without a torso walking from the top left to the bottom right of the screen, followed by a second figure walking in the same direction. The Fresno Nightcrawler was featured on the History Channel of all places, and proof is out there. That was another show. Subsequently, the footage of similar creatures was shot in Yosemite Lakes Park in 2011. So these are kind of recent. And there's been reported sightings as far away as Poland. So it seems like when these creatures are found, it seems like everybody wants to find them. They were called night crawlers. And attempts to investigate the footage was a hoax proved inconclusive. Back in 2007, we didn't have all this, AI crap to worry about. So, the likelihood that somebody went through all that trouble to make a video like that, well, it's probably a little bit, should I say, it would have been a lot harder to do. Right?
Absolutely.
Oh, Lucky does say about your spirit thing. Spirits are just people, but living are radios. Most living people are just turned to one station. Huh. So there you go. Interesting.
I would agree with that.
Interesting.
Because
I do believe a lot of us aren't tuned in.
Well, and I think that there are some people who could be turned in, but their brain tells them I can't believe it. So their brain said, well, I'm hearing something. Nah, it's my imagination. So they attribute it to their imagination when they may actually be hearing something. So, the imagination can work both ways,
Imagination has a lot to add to whatever you're seeing. But like your story with the guy wiggling your leg, you were still asleep and he wiggled your leg and you actually seen him enough to describe him in a picture. Somebody you never met before. So how did you dream about somebody you never met before?
And the house was on fire. It burnt down. It burnt down to the ground. So, I mean, it wasn't just, ooh, he told me the house was on fire, but there was nothing wrong. No, the house was on fire.
Yeah.
So, something to mention is that,
let's see if I can dig up some footage on the Fresno thing.
It seems that there are extreme situations, like the house burning down or it being on fire, that elicit visitations. Something happened, get out of the house, or something happened, hit the brakes before you have a catastrophic accident, something that hits you just before a catastrophic event of some sorts. So somehow those type of things seem to spawn or elicit or something, spark those kind of interruptions from the spirit world that say, hey, wait a minute, cut it out. And maybe it's it could be our spirit guides or our guardian angels, that keep us from getting into serious trouble, like to be dead.
Okay. Sorry. Trying to pull this up. Go ahead. Okay. Anyway, I have, let's see if I can get this bigger. Okay. You want to see the Fresno Nightcrawler?
Yeah, sure.
This is the Fresno Nightcrawler. Oh crap! I gotta stop sharing. I have to do it again. If I can do this, hang on. Oh, okay. Share screen. I didn't get the noise. Okay, so here it is.
Phenomenon known as the Fresno Nightcrawlers. These enigmatic beings, also referred to as the Fresno aliens or the Fresno stickmen, were depicted in the footage as two peculiar long-legged humanoid figures strolling across a residential lawn under the cover of darkness. Their slender, elongated bodies lacked discernible arms, and their deliberate, unhurried movements fascinated viewers. As the video spread across the internet, it ignited speculation and piqued curiosity about these mysterious creatures. Numerous theories emerged in an attempt to decipher their nature, with some proposing that they might be extraterrestrial beings or undiscovered cryptids. In 2007, a video captured...
Okay, what'd you think of that? Looks like somebody put pants over their head and walked around. Doesn't it?
I don't know. There's an oddness to how those creatures walk.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I guess if you were dressed up, I don't know. Then why didn't other people see them? You know, why didn't... I guess you can't get away with that stuff now when everybody has a Ring doorbell, right?
Right.
So, I guess it's one of those things, you know. I mean, people should be seeing them all over. Why did they just see them there and nowhere else?
Well, some places are, you know, designated hot spots. You know, in that there's something about the Earth's energy that attracts them, for lack of any kind of other kind of explanation. There's something about Earth energies, you know, and it seems to be, you know, Area 51, blah, 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 you know, there are hot spots, Bermuda Triangle, you know, so there are places that are just magnetically or spiritually something connected to whatever we want to consider as the other side, fourth dimension, fifth dimension, or whatever. But I firmly believe that there is another dimension. Having seen Mr. Cross manifest himself at the end of my bed, I can never forget that image, nor can I ever forget the spiritualness of it after the fact. Like the house is on fire. Holy crap, who was that guy? You mean he manifested himself to save our lives? That man, what better thing could you ask for from the spirit world for someone to they could have just said, oh shit, them people are going to get burnt, you know. But no, he decided to manifest himself and wake me up. So there's got to be something to that also.
Yeah.
Not that his spirits exist, but, you know, because I talked to him all those years, him sitting in the rocking chair and nobody else would acknowledge his presence. And here I was, you know, in a dire situation, and he just, I got to do something. I got to do something. So he manifested himself. I mean, I've thought about this over the years and how much energy it must take from the spirit world to manifest themselves. So anyway, why don't we see more of them? Because it takes a lot of energy to do that.
And
so
well,
anyway,
that's the thing.
Okay, I'll shut up.
You know, they're real because, you know, some sort, because that means they had compassion. You know, they didn't want you to die right then. You know, you could have died right there.
Yep.
Right.
Could have been part of the ghostly trio there on the hill, you know, where the house, you can't even tell there was a house there now. But
yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying is you could have been part of all that, but you know, he wanted to wake you up, and so he had compassion, like he had a brain. It ain't just the apparition that you see like a, you know, a faint light in the distance or something. It was something that could manifest and try to save you, you know, all at the same time. So
and consequently, I gotta say that I've been in some places where it just felt like it was pure evil. And couldn't shake it, didn't see anything, but you just wanted to get out of there so quick, you know. So I think kindness, you know, and love, because he felt compassion for us, held
Mhm.
true with his person? Because everybody said Mr. Crop was one of the nicest men out there, and so the fact that it carried through and in his ghostly realm. So
Mhm.
there are people who are evil, who were evil, and I think that also, unfortunately, it's an energy that sticks around a while. So go ahead, Robert. I'm yakking too much.
Well, next we're going to go to, of all things, the Chupacabra. It's a legendary creature from Americans known as a goat sucker. It's said to attack livestock and drink blood. It's been talked about for many years. It's from the word Spanish meaning chupa. It sucks goats. It's the name comes from the animal's purported vampirism. It's like a vampire dog. It's said to attack and drink the blood of livestock, including goats. The physical description of the creature vary. And in Puerto Rico, and now how we would make it to Puerto Rico across the water, I don't know, is generally described as a heavy creature, reptilian or alien-like, roughly the size of a small bear, and has rows of spines reaching from the neck to the base of the tail, while in the southwestern United States is depicted more dog-like. Initial sightings and accompanying descriptions first occurred in Puerto Rico in 1995. So somebody imported one, right? And the creature is still been reported as far north as Maine, believe it or not. I think they're getting a little out there. And as far south as Chile, and even outside the Americas, in countries like Russia, Philippines, and all the reports are anecdotal and have been discarded as uncollaborated or lacking evidence. Of course, sightings in northern Mexico and the southern United States have been verified candidates afflicted by, management. So that's the thing, it starts out in one place, maybe somebody sees something, and then it elaborates itself. But is it always true? Who knows? But we're gonna set our sights on watching a chupacabra. So let's I'm gonna share screen here. I'm gonna share screen. I can, and we're gonna watch a little bit on this and let's comment. Oops, crap, I did it again. Ah, I'm terrible. I forget to hit the button. Ah, okay, here we go. But anyway, I think this is about as big as, oh, maybe I can make it bigger. That's about as big as I can make it.
Video captured late last night near Pinar del Rio,
There's our
Cuba. A
chupacabra.
terrified driver caught what he claims is a chupacabra darting across a rural road. The creature, described as hairless, hunched, and with glowing red eyes, paused briefly in the headlights before vanishing into the brush. Experts are analyzing the footage, while locals fear the legendary beast has returned. Authorities remain silent. In a startling video captured...
Dog that lost its hair. Don't you think?
I don't know.
I think it does.
I don't know.
It's interesting. I mean, but that's the thing. Is it a dog with mange? And every now and then the dog gets mange and runs around, and everybody goes, "Oh my God, it's a chupacabra! It's a chupacabra!" You lock your goats up.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
And small children.
Lucky's got the same idea. Looks like a coyote with mange. It could be, especially down in Mexico area. Southwestern United States where they have coyotes. So that could definitely be, I guess.
It could be that a litter of pups was, irradiated by, all of the atom bomb testing in the Southwest. Gamma rays got to it.
Yeah. Well, and then that's true, but then it would eventually die off. But the idea is they keep seeing it is And if you keep seeing it, well, it probably is a mangy coyote. And once the idea for it gets out there, well, then, oh my goodness, it's a chupacabra, and it's coming to get you. You get what I'm saying? Because somebody's seen one.
You, when you live out in the country like I do, and a lot of other folks do, there are things that will cross in front of your headlights in the middle of the night coming home from work that you go, what the hell was that? You can, the dog runs across. Oh, that's a cow. Oh, that's a pig. Oh, what the hell was that? So there are those, because I've seen a few of those and I just go, man, it was my imagination. Whatever that thing was that run across the road, So, and sometimes it's it's just a local animal that happens to catch your eye or dart across the road at a weird time, and headlights you catch it weird, but sometimes.
Well, yeah, you don't know. And that's the thing. Okay, so what do we got next? The Kalanaro. Let's go with that. Somewhere Madagascar. You know where Madagascar is?
Yeah. It's off the coast of Africa.
Yeah, it's off the side of. Absolutely. And we're going to go right there. And we're going to listen to what the Kalanaro is. Well, I'll give you the description of it. It is a human cryptid who is believed to live as spirits on an island of Madagascar. Tradition states that they used to live temporarily in the rainforest, but habitat destruction caused their homes, and they went to, of course, it became extinct. Kalanaro are described as a small and hairy humanoid with fangs. Ooh, sounds like a little vampire kid. Their legs are said to be backwards, with backwards facing feet, and their eyes glow red. Their hair and fingernails are both long and unkempt. Living solitary lifestyles are reported to eat raw meat and having a whiny voice. Yeah, give me more meat. Stories vary. They can be painted as malevolent spirits who will steal children. Give me your children. And kill people or rob them. The Kalanaro are in recent times is also associated with alcohol, being an alcoholic. However, they are also seen as loyal servants to human companions and can take interest. They can take a somewhat interest in humans. There's tales of them kidnapping children, but only due to mainstream mistreatment of their parents. Once the Kalano's demands are met, the children were returned. Woo! Sounds like somebody kidnapped your kids, demanded a ransom, and they were returned, and you blamed it on a mythical being. Oh, man. I tell you, where did they come up with this stuff? Okay. So, we're going to share the screen and listen and see what a Kalanaro looks like, because I've never heard of one, and this is something kind of new. So if we go here, we're going to see what this video is going to show us.
Something whispers from the shadows. Small, hairy, with glowing eyes and knife-like teeth. Locals call it the Kalanoro. They say it stands less than a meter tall, but its feet are backward and its tracks lead nowhere. It steals children, takes animals.
Give me your babies.
And its laughter, cold and sharp, echoes just before it vanishes. Hunters claim to have seen it. Some explorers never returned. Lost creature or ancient spirit. One thing is certain, If you ever hear it laugh behind you, it's already too late. Subscribe before it finds you.
So, there you have it. You have a monkey. Nina says it's a monkey with a bad hairdo, I imagine, and a thirst for blood for your little children. I just have to laugh at these things, I swear. Yes, of course. Elderberry says they blame Puerto Rico for the Chupacabra. That was a failed experiment, American lab experiment, making a chimera. Oh, what do you have to say to all that? Think it's real?
Sometimes Mother Nature does strange things. The fact that it looks so monkey-like is, not necessarily a cause for alarm. But, what if a chimp lost its baby? Because, they do mourn for their lost one. So what if, there was a child and a chimpanzee type monkey, decided to snatch the baby in lieu of having lost their own child. So, I could see where those two things could come together, because they've given doll babies to chimps who have lost their their youngins, and and they won't put the baby doll down. So there is something to that maternal instinct. But that's about as far as I can go with that one.
Well, I agree. It's probably, like I said, it's probably a monkey, somebody. And then the story, that's the thing. The story goes and goes, and nobody sees one for 20 years, and then all of a sudden another monkey steals a baby, and then it's like, it's back. It's back. The Kalanoro is back. It's like never went anywhere. It was never there. But that's the thing. Or it definitely could be real, but we just don't know enough about it to understand it. So I don't know.
Oh, and by the way, Dracula is still dead.
Yeah. Exactly. He's been dead for a while.
But what I mean by that
boy. We're just having
Dracula is still dead, but the story lingers. So
yes,
the animal could have been true at one point, but now but the story still lingers.
Yep. Yes. And it's been popularized. Now, how many people do you that are out there dress up like Dracula, try to suck blood and say they're a vampire, and they dress in black and, paint their face white like they're the undead and really live that lifestyle. It's like I don't know, it's kind of weird looking. You gotta wonder about these. Yeah, it is. But there's people out there that literally try to be Dracula. Oh, I'm Dracula, I'm a vampire. And they walk around, they have their teeth altered, all kinds of weird stuff. What's up with that? Who wants to be a Dracula and go around sucking people's blood? You're still a human, you're still alive. I tell you.
Some people just can't accept reality, whatever it is for them. Reality has to be something made up. That they can live in the made up world, but they can't live in the real world. Ain't that weird?
Yes, that is weird. Okay. Okay, this one looks good. Anyway, we're going to talk a little bit about Amomongo. We're going to research Amomongo in a second. Okay. And Amomongo, it's is our new one here in the Philippines. It's folklore that Amomongo is a creature described as a hairy man-sized ape with long nails. The name is probably derived from the another culture's word, which translates into ape or monkey. Residents of La Casalanta in Negros Occidental view the Amomongo as a violent, wild creature that lives in caves, so don't go in the caves, near the foot of the volcanic Mount Calion. Amomongo is featured to be a local folk tale called Amomongo, and it could be a part of the ape and the firefly story. The name Amomongo has also been translated to meaning the word gorilla. So could it be a wild gorilla out there and they just don't know what it is? An undiscovered creature? Though this might not be a native animal to the region too. So on June 9th, 2008, Amomongo supposedly attacked a man named Salvador Arguella and La Constantina settlement and disemboweled numerous goats and chickens in the area for the purpose of eating the entrails. Attacks lasted until the next day. On June 10th, medical records revealed that this guy and his buddy, another guy, sustained numerous scratches on their faces and backs and abdomen on their bellies. Residents described it as a hairy white ape with long fingernails and stands about 5 foot 4 inches, which isn't very big. Tall, but over there the people are short. So compare this creature with an ape-like cryptid around the world known as Bigfoot and Yeti, and it could be something similar. Through those scientific communities hold it as just a legend mixed with mistaken identity. Could have been just a big giant ape that they haven't seen yet. Of course, the native community holds it as a wild animal, non-intelligent being, like or witch. It could be a witch of some sort, an Asguanda. So there you go. Now on with the video.
Well, I would say that would be at 5'4". Where'd they come up with 5'4"? 4 inches, 5 feet? Well, no, he was 5'4". Never mind.
Yeah, I know. And how, did you really identify it? I mean, you gotta wonder about this stuff. So anyway, here we go with this. Let's do this and let's see what it says.
This is why you need to know about Amomongo. Hidden in the shadows of Mount Canlaon, this terrifying creature has haunted the nightmares of locals for generations. Deep within the caves near La Castellana, in Negros Occidental, lives a creature shrouded in fear and folklore, the Amomongo.
A mini Bigfoot.
A man-sized ape covered in thick hair, with nails as long as your fingers. Locals whisper about its violent nature.
It's crazy.
Tales of the Amomongo attacking livestock and even people. The thought of its glowing eyes peering from the
of course it has
darkness has kept many a child wide awake. But is it just a story to keep us on edge? Or is there some truth lurking beneath the surface of Mount Canlaon? Stay tuned as we dive deeper into the legend of Amomongo. Who knows? You might just uncover something.
Anyway, that's the whole thing. It's like a small Bigfoot trapped. But why is it always seen around that mountain, that volcano mountain? It's kind of interesting, right?
Not really. It's because that's
right.
its territory. That's where it lives. To me, I think it would be different if they say, well, they found it usually hangs out around the volcano, but we've seen it down by the beach. That would be odd to me. But anyway, people forget about
that's true, and it's only been seen in one area. And who knows? It could be a man who has deformities, and is a short man who has deformities and comes out of his cave, and he lives around that mountain, and that's why nobody sees him.
And it could be
I
a
know.
variety of ape.
Who am I? Yeah. Well, that's exactly it. You know, I mean, it could be a variety of ape. It could be a man, a real man, you know, just out there trying to, you know, keep himself fed, and he was deformed and people made fun of him, and he went out there to live like a wild man. And I guess in the jungles you could, I mean, you wouldn't need clothing, and you wouldn't need to come to town. You could eat bananas all day, you know, that kind of stuff.
Well, let me tell you a story since you brought that up, and I had forgotten. But down in Tampa years ago, back around 1968, 69, 70, in there. So that I heard the story, okay?
Okay.
So we're camped out at the Boy Scout camp out on Gun Highway in Tampa. And, you know, somebody's telling us of the story about the wild woman from that area. And so there's several lakes in the area, as is one in Florida. And so the road goes up to the lake and then around the lake to the left side, because I've been out there, and then the road continues on. So there's a couple of houses just on the other side of the lake, all right, from the town side. And so you could see lights come from a long way off because Gun Highway was straight. And then there's the lake. So the lights could shine across the lake. Well, there was a husband and wife and a young child. Ooh, my dog going crazy. There's something outside got Duggar all riled up. Yeah, he's riled up. So anyway, the story goes, and that the lady was waiting on her husband to come home, and this was back in the 30s, 40s kind of thing. And it must have been the late 40s because of how this story goes and how old the woman would have been. But anyway, so late 40s, early 50s, she's sitting there, you know, waiting for her husband to come home, and she can see this pair of headlights coming from way off. And it's about 7 o'clock, and it's time for him to come. And so she watches the headlights, and she watches the headlights, and they don't make a turn. They don't turn to come around the lake. They just keep on going straight. And then she starts to panic. Something's happened because the lights are still on, but they're not going around the lake. And she starts to panic some more. So she, for what the family and friends say, that she went around to the other side of the lake, which is a big lake. And her husband had fallen asleep or something and had went into the lake and drowned. So she went bonkers and had left her child at the house in a cradle. Okay. And so they couldn't find her, but they found the baby, and the baby was dead because they didn't find it until about 2 or 3 days later. Out in the country back in those days, not many folks around. So, you know, so the story went that you could hear the baby crying because at that time the house was still there. So, you know, there were people who would dare you to go up to the back of the house and to see the crib and all of that kind of thing. So as teenagers and everybody heard that story and oh, the house is haunted and everything. But, you know, a friend of mine, her grandmother lived like the third house down from that house. And her house was haunted. There was some crazy stuff that went on. But we went out there one evening just to spend the evening and talk about the ghost stories and to visit her grandmother. And sitting out there on the front porch, ain't nothing out there. You could hear a baby crying, wailing, just off in the distance, crying, crying, crying. And there wasn't nobody in the first house. The second house was empty, and Grandma lived in the third house. Wasn't anybody else out there on the highway. And so, but later on, a couple of years later, now we'd heard this story, and there was this wild woman who would break into this store out there in the country, would break into the store. Well, I say break in. She would rush into the store and go through the store. She had long gray hair and all straggly and weird fingernails, and she'd get a couple of things from the store and run back out. And so there were several, I mean, it was in the newspaper, in the Tampa Tribune, and that, you know, here the wild woman, you know, attacks this. She never hurt anybody or attacked anybody. She was always after, you know, food or something. So, but to the point, though, that sometimes weird events will cause people to go crazy. And they never did, as far as I know, they never did find the woman. But there were sightings, true sightings of she'd break into the store and people would be buying their groceries and she'd be running around screaming and then back out the store she'd go. Wow. So, but that's a true story. Now, whatever happened, you know, ghost wise, that baby could be heard crying. Now that was just everything else aside, the crazy woman going into the store. Okay, she lost her baby and she went nuts. But what about that? What about the crying? What about the wailing at night? Ooh, that was creepy.
Yeah. Can't make that up.
No. I mean, you know, and the lady going in the stores, they assumed it was her because of the general proximity, you know. But the baby crying, it still gives me chills.
Yeah, I imagine it would. Holy cow. Wow. Oh boy, the stories out there. Well, anyway, we got the next one on our list. And this one here, Momo the monster, also known as a Missouri monster, a Bigfoot type cryptid allegedly seen in Missouri or Illinois in the 1940s. So what is this thing? Well, it's it's like an ape-like creature, similar descriptions to Bigfoot, that was allegedly sighted by numerous people in Louisiana, Missouri in 1944 and 45. Unlike other areas with similar reports, this folklore monster of Fork, Kansas, or the Mothman in Point Pleasant, West Virginia, Momo, did not become a major tourist or economic folklore attraction. Witnesses described the creature as large bipedal humanoid with a pumpkin-sized head, perfect for Halloween. It's about 7.5 feet tall, covered with dark hair, and emits a putrid odor. The most well-known alleged sighting occurred in July 11, 1972, when two young boys were playing in the backyard on the rural outskirts of Louisiana, Missouri. Their older sister, Doris, was in the kitchen, and she heard her brothers screaming. When she looked out of the window, she observed a massive, dark-haired, man-like creature holding what appeared to be a deceased dog. She described it as having a pumpkin-shaped head and large, glowing orange eyes. This alleged sighting another one occurred about a year later. Notably, local fire department and chief and members of the city council who reported driving along a creek bed when he saw a massive upright creature in his vehicle's headlights. As a result of these reported encounters, A 20-person posse was formed to hunt down the creature, but nothing was ever found. Of course, in 2019, recently, there was a documentary horror film named Momo. We're going to watch a trailer of that in a second, which dramatizes these events. So be my guest, and we're going to watch this little bit of snippet of Momo, the thing from Missouri. Okay, here we go. Yeah, one. Remember when TVs used to look like that?
Oh yeah, I had one like that. Oh yeah, I had one like that.
Yeah, so did I.
So it was, in 1975, a film crew set out to make a movie about another famous hairy monster, Momo, Missouri's own monster. I've searched far and wide to track down the only known copy of the original film. That's right, we're going to show it right here tonight. And together, we're going to explore Missouri and get to the bottom of this real case that inspired this should-have-been B-movie cult classic. So like I always say, spin the reel.
The first encounter that people attribute to starting the Momo craze, as it were, was in July 11th, 1972, at the foot of Marzoff Hill at the Harrison home.
The fellow that saw it first, his kids were out in the yard and saw something in their backyard up on the backside of the hill on the north side, and it scared them, and they ran in the house and told the father. It bothered him enough that they moved.
So I thought, well, I'll just make a little footprint here, and then I'll go in and tell my mom and dad I found a footprint. And I made the impression, and I went back in the house, and I, oh, look what I found. And somebody came out and authenticated the footprints. Due to the depth of the impressions, they determined its weight and its height, and said, oh yeah, it's definitely from an animal.
Clean it up. See, this is how stories get perpetuated. Missouri. All right. Didn't know there was a Missouri monster, did you?
No, I vaguely remembered that story way back when, but
really,
yeah, that was sort of back about the time of the Boggy Creek monster.
Interesting. Yeah. See, and that's the thing. Once, like that lady said, I went out and I made a footprint, and they came out and tested it, and they said it was real, and how big and tall it was, and how much it weighed, and that off of one footprint. Come on now, nobody can tell off of one footprint what something is. You got one footprint. Come on, really? That's what I want to say. Maybe you can tell me what color its eyes were too,
and what color hair.
Yeah, we didn't find any hair, but obviously it must have had hair. I could tell by the footprint. Oh, geez. Elderberry says, I've seen tracks that scared me in the fields on the river flats. Yeah, well, and see, that's the thing too, is some people see the real thing, but then other people, you got to wonder, did they see the real thing? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. See, it's hard to decipher between the ones that are real and the ones that are fake.
Yep. Well, also, too, out in the country, like, if I go straight back along the property line, it's about 1,200 feet to the river. And right now, the river's real low. It's barely flowing. And so there's a lot of sand, and you can walk along the bottom of the river bottom. And so It's been a few years back. I remember I was just walking the river bottom looking for treasures and, whatever, roots or things that I could find and might have been stuck in the sand. And I got to this one spot down on the river. Now, it's a long way from the bridge. If somebody were to be, they don't just walk down the river. They just don't. And so I find these large footprints, barefoot of all things, in the sand. And they walk along a certain, look normal human footprints, but it's where they started. I looked up the bank, and over here there weren't any footprints. I followed the footprints down the sand, and they just disappeared. And so it's like, I don't know what it was. It looked like human footprints, kind of large, but not overly, just regular. But it was the fact that they just started and just ended. That's it still creeps me out to this day. I'm like, what? And why would they be all the way back there? I mean, that's it. It's I know my way around, and it's still woolly billy.
Yep. Yeah. See, that's I think what gets a lot of people is how they see stuff like that and they don't know what to make of it. I know I wouldn't. I'd be the same way as you. I'd be like freaking out a little bit, like there's the footprints and there they end, and I'm not a very good tracker, obviously.
And they were clear in the sand. I mean, it was obvious from up on the bank. I was like, oh, look, what the hell are footprints doing all the way down here in the swamp, And then I looked over there, and they just started, and I went down that way, and they just ended. Yeah, it's still creepy.
Interesting. Very interesting. Well, I think we've covered everything. You got any more that you'd like to talk about?
In particular, no, but I want to just make a general statement, in that many times that I've thought that creepy things didn't exist, but ever since Mr. Croft woke me up with the house burning down, do I believe in ghosts? Yes. You cannot take that out of me. Now, do ghosts exist everywhere? And is just because you heard a noise, is that a ghost or a poltergeist? No. But do ghosts exist? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, they do. And sometimes they scare the living daylights out of you. And sometimes, like in our case, Mr. Croft saved our lives. So kudos to Mr. Croft.
That's right. I love it. I love it. Well, it's been a good evening. Easter's coming right up, and we got a show coming up on Tuesday, don't we?
Did you say Easter's coming up?
Halloween. Sorry. Easter. Yeah. Man, I'm losing it, man. No, Halloween's coming up on Friday. And Tuesday is our show. And
hide your Halloween eggs now.
Yeah, your Halloween eggs. Duh. Oh my gosh, I'm losing it with all these cryptids. Chasing the cryptid around that lays eggs. But anyway, don't forget to join Nina tomorrow on her show. She will be on with Karen Holton, and for her Sunday night Sin Day Live. Anyway, check that out, and also go over and get yourself a mug, a shirt, get yourself a Milky Way shirt like I'm wearing right here, and get yourself a mug like David's got right there. You got a mug, right? Got your mug. Woohoo! Hot diggity.
That's out of coffee.
It's out of coffee. That's right. Our hour's up, and check the Streamlabs out. Link is in the description below, and it's also right here in the chat if you want to check that out. And Tomorrow night, yep, she says it premieres at 6 p.m. Pacific Coast time, which is 5 Mountain and 5 Mountain, 7 Mountain, 8 Central time. Trying to get the names right. 8 Central time, 6 Mountain, 6 fiddlesticks. All these numbers. Anyway, check that stuff out. 9 Eastern, yes. Oh boy, I am tongue twisted tonight. Anyway, just to ask you, now that you're up and about, you got a show tonight?
Maybe.
Okay, we'll go over there, check David Null out on his channel for a little late rendezvous. Anyway,
and yes, and remember, we all have to holler ween at this time of the year. Thank you, Barry.
That's right.
Halloween.
Halloween. All right. Yeah, I like that. And with that, everyone, remember, go out and do something nice for somebody else. And next week, I got a really good Saturday night show, so check that out. We're going to be talking about aliens with Karen Holton. Anyway, join me then for that show. And with that, remember, be nice to yourself so you can be nice to others. Be the frequency you want to receive, everybody. Love you all. Peace, everybody.
Cheers.